Girl, hurry up. The episode's about to start. Edified, divine, shine, thrive. No lies, a new mind. Bitch, don't forget to subscribe. Get designed to edify. Skip the line and edify. Let me stop.
Hello, ladies. Your girl is back. Your girl is back and she is better than before. Let me tell you, I have literally had like a creative block and I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm having a hard time thinking about what should I talk about, what should I cover. And it's kind of like I think I'm in a place right now where I'm overthinking. I've gotten a lot of good feedback about the podcast. And of course, I've gotten some constructive criticism. And I find that for some reason, I'm like kind of second guessing some things. So I don't know. I've been praying about it and your girl's back. Some updates to my life is like, there's just been a lot of things that have kind of taken precedence over the podcast, if I'm being honest. And I think that we all go through those times in our life where we have tunnel vision about something. And then all of a sudden, something else comes up and it's more important. And you're putting other things like on the back burner. So like I quit a toxic job in January and I was looking for a job for some months, like maybe 2 months. And I finally have a job. So I'm working at a software development company. And one of my goals for 2023 was to work in tech. So that's checked off. I've got the podcast checked off. I got that checked off. I'm working with a personal trainer.
You go, girl.
So I'm trying to lose weight. I've got PCOS and I'm going to do an episode to talk more deeply about that. But literally my body's kind of fighting against me when it comes to losing weight and staying healthy and staying on course. But I'm pushing through, ladies. Like I go, 4 times a week and I'm lifting heavy. I'm doing hella reps. Like your girl is really pushing herself and I love my trainer. And you know, with all these things coming up, still trying to balance out, networking with people, spending time with family and friends. I actually just got to see my brother last week. My brother's in town from college on his spring break. Like, I'm trying to balance out so many things in my life. So the podcast just kind of been back burner. And we only have one more episode. So during every season, I'm only going to do 7 episodes. The number 7 means a lot to me. And what I think is really cool is that while I haven't done an episode in the past 2 weeks on my podcast, I have been featured on other people's podcasts, which I think is really cool. I actually got in touch with a girl in Belgium.
Nothing left to say, like
Belgium, like overseas Belgium. So I'm going to be on her podcast, as well as I joined an all male podcast. And that was interesting. I was answering a lot of tough questions. And when they were asking me things about dating and personal life and therapy, a lot of different, questions they were asking, and some were silly, but some kind of got a little deep. I realized that like my 20s have been such a crucial year, or not year, but my 20s have been a crucial time for me. The 20s is definitely an interesting season. And so this episode is called 20-some mistakes, because I want to deep dive into what it means to me to be in my 20s. I'm 26, and so I've got 4 more years until I hit the big 3-0. And I want to deep dive into my experience in my 20s, some mistakes I've made, and how I think the last 4 years of this phase is going to be for me and what I'm going to make sure I accomplish. So everyone has their own perception of what it means to be like in your 20s. And, for me, I feel like I'm getting closer to adulthood, but I don't really have the full commitment. And I'm okay with that because I don't know what life would be like for me if I had like kids or a husband already. Or I don't know what life would be like if I just had too many responsibilities where I wouldn't be able to still live my life in a fun way. And I think that my early 20s was really just a time where I was still in college, and while people think you're an adult, you are very much not an adult mentally. You still think in a way that is not fully developed, and you still are making stupid decisions. Like, to be honest, you think that you're grown, but you're not grown. And you don't get into like your full womanhood until I think 25. I want to say that our brains develop when we're like by 24, 25. I don't know. I need to do my research like in depth, but I didn't see like a real shift until I was 24. And I was still in my 20s when COVID popped off. So as we all know, COVID really was a crucial time for a lot of people, and it made people look at their reality differently. And I just realized that my 20s were not being fulfilled. Like I was not walking in my purpose at all. And I was like, you know what? My early 20s, okay, I fucked up a little bit. I did this and that, but I'm learning from them. And that's the important part, is to learn as you are aging. And I'm at a point in my life now as I'm 26, and I even felt this way at 25. Like, I want to focus on my purpose. You know, I want to prepare to be an amazing wife and an amazing mom. I want to build my career, and I want to build my faith so that as I'm going through all those things and there continue to be obstacles along the way, like I'm not sitting there stressed out, but instead I'm looking forward to what's going to continue to happen for me. Like 20s are quote unquote your selfish years, but I feel like I'm making my 20s a year to love others, to embrace others, and to edify others. Wink, wink. Because my 20s is literally the first step of adulthood. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I really have. I've made so many mistakes in my 20s, but I don't regret them, you guys. I don't. Because if I didn't make those mistakes, I would not be on this podcast today. I guarantee you that. I wouldn't have any stories to tell you guys because everything would just be freaking sweet and perfect. But that's not life. And my first mistake that I constantly made when I was like, 20 to 24 was like leading with a lot of anger, offense, and confrontation. It's weird because I'm not really a violent person. I don't like to be violent, but at the same time in my mind, I will literally act out confrontations. I will act out confronting a lot of you chicks that I don't like. And I'm spending a lot of time, back then thinking of all these issues that could happen and arise. And I was literally manifesting them. I was manifesting so much drama in my life. And that's exactly what happened. I was having so many issues, whether it be with actual friendships, with random girls, clapping back on social media to people, having an issue with people in stores. Like, okay, if somebody, bumps into me and doesn't say, excuse me, I'm literally like, excuse you. And I was so driven by anger and wanting to be offended. And it literally resulted in people not wanting to be around me. And one of my jobs, that I had in my early 20s, I felt like the only way for me to be able to gain respect in that workplace was to be one of those girls who was like, I'm with the shits, I'm with confrontation. And I realized like, that is not okay because now you messing with your money. Like you're really tripping. But I was in this phase of my life where I just didn't care. I'm like, man, I didn't get to really, clap back at people in high school because I knew I was going to get in trouble with my mom. And now I'm an adult, so I can do whatever the F I want to do. And I did it. But I realized so quickly, and God literally corrected my heart like super fast when I realized that there are people who are crazier than me, like legit crazy. And I'm like, I don't need these problems. This is not who I am. And I realized super quickly that it was all in my mind. Like, I blame it on reality TV because I think that growing up, I watched that a lot. And it really did set the foundation of how I thought I was supposed to deal with situations and issues, but it's not. I was so angry. And it wasn't until I went to therapy in 2022 where I started to address those things. Before then, I didn't understand where the anger came from. But then I was able to do some deep soul searching and I realized, oh gosh, I'm angry because I didn't feel heard at times growing up. I'm angry because I always compared myself to my brothers. I'm angry because I feel like people don't listen to me. I'm angry because of all these things that have happened when I was younger that I couldn't change and I had no control of. But now I got control. And speaking of control, I should control my anger. I should control my anger. So that brings me to number 2. In my early 20s, I literally kept dating the same type of guy that was just not good for me. And that comes also into self-control because I literally found myself not being able to control my urges and kind of being a little boy crazy at a moment in time by constantly sticking to just being around guys who were not like paying attention to me or didn't care about me, and they made it very clear from jump. I always tell my friends, like, I don't really have a type, but I realized that back then I did have a type, and that type were guys who were nonchalant, guys who were not loyal, guys who were selfish, and guys who honestly were not in the mindset to be what I wanted them to be. I'm sure that they've changed. I'm sure that they've grown. I hope so. But I realized that I kept playing victim when in all actuality, I was choosing these guys. And they look different, but their hearts and their character were very much the same. I wasn't being in control of my dating world, and I think that I wasn't selective enough. And when you're in your early 20s, especially like if you're still in college and stuff, the college culture is sex, drugs, partying. I say that a lot because it is true. And especially when you're going to a university, you have a lot of time just to kind of F off and do your thing after class. And I was so into wanting attention from these guys that I was never able to really sit down, have a conversation with them, and get to know them. Now, mind you, like I said, I'm in my early 20s. We think we're grown, but we're not. Our minds are not there. And so I'm realizing that the reason why I'm acting this way is because, I don't really want to be married yet. I don't want to look for a husband. I'm just trying to have fun. And it backslid on me because if you're trying to have fun, then Kennedy, you can't get mad when things don't go your way. You can't get mad if this guy says, hey, I only want to sleep with you, but I actually want to be in a relationship with her. You can't get mad at those type of things. I should have stuck to abstinence first and foremost. And in college, that was a very big struggle for me. I think a lot of women struggle with lust. And I had a conversation not too long ago with some ladies in my church, and we do struggle with lust. And that's okay. Some people struggle with pornography. Some people struggle with kissing. Some people struggle with going all the way. And at that time in college, I struggled with that. But if I could look back, that's one thing I would have stuck to is my abstinence. Because when I was having fun with these guys, I was at my lowest point, and I literally felt like I got no reward after that. I don't speak to most of those guys. I don't know them. They were never my friends. And so I gave them my body for absolutely no reason, but for a temporary feel. And I should have also been very selective when dating, or being selective, at least with who I slept with, because I literally, when I look back, I'm like, why did I talk to this guy? Why did I sleep with this guy? Why did I give this guy the time of day? I was not selective at all. I guess you could say I was easy. And I don't like to put that label on people because, people like to twist it and spin it and say, well, as women, we have the right to do whatever we want with our bodies. And I agree. Do whatever you want with your body, but understand there are extreme consequences that come along with that. And you can't run from that. My consequence over and over again for not being selective was getting involved with guys who were not good for me, getting involved with guys who literally used and abused me, and getting involved with men who never should have been in my presence. When you're having sex with people, it's more than just some fun and pleasure. It's literally a soul exchange. And I look back and I'm like, damn, I wasted a lot of time, which is my third point into this. I wasted time with these guys. A lot of time was wasted. And I think that I was being like a unicorn in a way, like having the unicorn delusion. So there's a book called The Unicorn Delusion. And long story short, that book is helping women understand how to date men and understand that men do not care about the things that we think they care about. The way that you can be able to attract good men is all with different things that have nothing to do with your personality, your looks, or your vagina. And a lot of women lead with that. They think that that is what separates them, and it doesn't. I definitely think that you should read that book. That book is amazing. It changed my life. And I read that at 24. So as you can see, I literally had to start relearning things as I was getting in my, older 20s. And that's a beautiful thing, But if you're still doing the same stuff when you're 26, 27 that you were doing at 21, 22, definitely rearrange your life. Hey you guys, this is Kennedy with Edified Minds Podcast, where we drop an episode every Tuesday. Before we get further into this episode, I want to tell you guys about Soft Mood Sounds. Designed to alleviate stress, prepare you to rest, and motivate you in the morning, this YouTube channel has 3 categories of sounds, like mood ambiances, rain sounds, and affirmation. Spread mental wealth by sharing this page with your friends and your family, and kick your day off or end your day with these beautiful soft mood sounds. All right, let's get back to the episode. And speaking of growth, bringing me to my last point of a mistake that I really felt like I constantly made in my early 20s was constantly just shaming myself. I was always shaming myself of the things that I did. And I tell a lot of people till this day that my college years were my worst years, and I really wish that I could just take those years back and redo them. I wish that I was more vocal. I wish that I was more involved on campus. I wish that I had focused on female friendships versus guys. I wish that I had been more selective with guys, and I wish that I wasn't so confrontational and wanting everybody to try me all the time. But I'm not the same girl that I was in my early 20s, and that's the beauty of it. Ladies, it's so easy to sit in your past, but how are you going to be able to grow and have a flourishing future if all you're focused on is what has happened already? You cannot take it back. All you can do is learn from those situations and make sure you don't do them again. I've evolved, and I feel that my past no longer defines me. If anything, God has a way of using our past to fuel our future. He'll use a bad situation so that you can be able to tell people about it and inspire them to not do that, or inspire them to forgive themselves if they've done the same thing. And I feel like God is using my past to define my growth. I feel like He's purposely putting me in a place where it's Kennedy, yeah, you did this, that, and the third, but I want you to speak to women who are in that place of they can't forgive themselves. Ladies, how many of us continue to not be able to forgive ourselves? But on top of that, how many of us say, you know what, I can't take it back, so I'm going to just do it again? You can be in 2 pretty toxic places in your life. You don't want to be in any of those spots. You can make change, you can forgive yourself, and you can move forward and make sure that you don't end up putting yourself back into situations that didn't do you any good in the first place. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of time. And I find myself sometimes even getting in touch with people who knew me back in the day. And I used to think that I was over-explaining myself to them. But just kind of I don't know, having a new beginning with people is also important, because I definitely believe that people will still judge you off your past, and you can't always care about what people think. I can't make everybody happy. I can't do that. But there are some people who I genuinely feel like I should apologize to, or I genuinely feel like I want to have a conversation with them again so that they at least know that I've learned from that situation, and that's not who I am anymore. And it's a beautiful thing just to be able to accept change and to embrace it. Change can be scary, but I'm at a place in my life as I get closer to 30. I love doing this. I love going to therapy. I love pushing myself beyond my limits. And I'm going to look up and I'm going to be freaking 30. Ladies, if you're in your late 20s, I'm talking 25 to 29, let's use these last couple of years as years that we are not going to regret our 20s. Have a balance of having fun, have a balance of enjoying yourself, but also take your life seriously. Start to differentiate the difference between being in your early 20s when you're still a little girl to starting to walk into your grown womanhood. No man should be in your presence if he cannot provide you peace, stability, and loyalty. No friend should be in your vicinity if they cannot provide you loyalty, honesty, and encouragement. You shouldn't be working at a job if they're not going to promote you eventually, or if you freaking hate the job in general. Ladies, there's so many things we have to make sure that we are not doing to keep us stuck. And these are the times to do that. I encourage traveling. Get your hair done, get your nails done, but at the same time, save. Because you're going to look up and you're going to be in some 30s, 40s, 50s, where it's like at that point, you should have laid out the foundation in your 20s. But see, you're too busy having fun. You're too busy thinking that you're a young woman. No, I feel like, and it's just my personal opinion, your late 20s, you're walking into grown womanhood, grown woman. We're old enough at this point where we should be able to have a foundation of stability for ourselves, whether we have dependents or not. And it all has to do with our actions. Every single day, you should have goals to accomplish. You should have vision boards. You should be praying. You should have faith. You should manifest. You should be talking great to yourself every morning. I personally wake up and I tell myself, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm your best friend. I'm there for you. I literally am my cheerleader every single day. And as I've continued to do that, my walk has been different. I talk different. I carry myself different. When I walk out of my house, I'm not Kennedy anymore. I'm my alter ego. And that's what I encourage us to do. So this episode's kind of quick, but I want for you guys to leave a comment in the comment section of wherever you're listening to. So whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or iHeart, I want for you guys to leave in the review, give me a review, and I want you guys just to leave what you learned in your 20s. I encourage you to do that. Let's have a conversation. And of course, you know that I leave off every episode with a scripture. So here we go. So the scripture for this episode is from Acts 3:19. And it says, repent then and turn to God so that your sins may be wiped out, that times of refreshing may come from the Lord. And I think that's an amazing way to summarize this episode. You know, I am in a place where I don't want to be defined by my mistakes. I've given them to God. He already forgives me. I forgive myself, and I'm in a place of moving forward. So as I continue to grow in my 20s, I don't want to walk in mistakes, or I know I'll make mistakes, but like I don't want to walk in regret. You know, I got to stand on whatever decision I make. I'm not perfect. We're not perfect. But at the end of the day, I'm going to try my best to do what I know is right. So ladies, I got one more episode coming for you. That'll be next Tuesday. Like I said, I took a break for a little bit, had a little creative block. But ladies, we're about to finish up Edified Minds, and I'm super excited. This Thursday, if you don't already follow us on social media, it's edifiedminds.podcast on Instagram. And I've been doing IG Lives all month for Women's History Month. So our very last interview is going to be about fitness, liposuction and BBL versus personal training, or like, you know, gym transformations, talking about nutrition and talking about the importance of getting your body in order so that you can constantly be healthy. So we're going to be talking about that with a personal trainer. Her name is Kay. And then I also have a lot of other video clips of the previous lives that you can check out in the IG Live series that I have. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Praying that you guys have a great week, ladies, and I will be back next week.